Welcome back to The Factor Uncensored. New video shows a moment a 23-year-old Ukrainian refugee was stabbed to death on a Charlotte light rail train. The unprovoked attack happened last month. Video shows a victim taking a seat on a train in front of the suspect. He then suddenly stands up, stabs her over her shoulder, and of course we stopped it there. Just a horrible video. The victim fled Ukraine in 2022 with her mother, sister, and brother to escape the war with Russia. The suspect, 34-year-old DeCarlos Brown, has been charged with first-degree murder. A judge has ordered he be evaluated for 60 days in a local hospital. Joining us to talk about this, CEO Regal Media, Todd Smith, and therapist Dr. Bernadette Smith. Thank you both for joining us here on The Factor. Obviously, just a tragedy, horrible situation. It gives you chills when you see the video, even when they stop it before we see what actually happened. But this has gone down a different path that many people didn't see or didn't expect, with many conservatives out there saying this story has not received enough attention. Where is the mainstream media? The problem, Todd, is the video was just released this weekend, and it takes time to gain momentum. But your thoughts about this?
It's not receiving enough attention, thank God it is, but no, crime doesn't get enough attention. I just lost an 18, 19-year-old cousin to murder in Louisiana a few months ago. I didn't see national news either. So we have a problem politicizing everything. Let's take time to respect this woman and her family and get justice for her. She fled a war-torn country coming to America for peace and freedom, and she's taken out by this young man. We need to focus on solving crime, dealing with mental illness. This young man has some issues. I don't see any reason why anybody would act that violently to a stranger. So we need to make sure that people get the help that they need so these things don't happen. You know, we want to politicize everything because of the climate that we're living in, the city that they live in, but I don't care where you're from and where you live. If you lose a relative to gun violence, I've lost 6 or 7, my family. Nobody's ever gone to jail for any of them for what I know. I don't want to hear a politician use them as a ploy. Solve my cousin, my uncle, solve their murders so we can get some closure. That's what we need to do for this young lady's family.
And Dr. Smith, in this case, the suspect, Brown, he was currently under evaluation, and that process never was completed. And now here we go, putting him in a second evaluation. So your thoughts about where we went wrong in this situation where a young lady escaped a country where the front lines appear to be safer than the United States and on a train in North Carolina.
Yeah. And so it is very unfortunate. So some of the things that I had read on him, that he had been diagnosed with schizophrenia in the past, but then wasn't under current medical attention. And so there was a lapse there. And so when we're talking about how then do we address that, and to Todd's point, right, let's not politicize and make this a talking point, but instead be able to identify how do we fix it. And part of what we have to recognize is mental health is underfunded. And everybody loves to talk about mental health, and use it as a hot topic, but nobody's talking about the grants that are being taken away, the federal funding that's being stripped, the way
all
states,
just cut this year.
Right? And then even very specifically talking about Texas, people such as him probably are going to benefit from things like Medicaid or the Harris Center. And again, those things are not being funded appropriately. There are ways in which they can ensure that there's more access, but they're not doing it because in those spaces, therapists are underfunded or underpaid as it relates to insurance, or they're not able to staff properly because they don't have the proper support.
Where do we go from here, Todd?
Honestly, crime will always exist. I mean, you go back to the Bible, Cain and Abel. People say we need more police, but police can't be everywhere.
Right.
We just have to realize when people have problems, they have mental health problems, or they might be surrounded by violent individuals and they might need positive role models. We just need to, everybody do their part. Speak out, try to make a difference in somebody's life. People say prayer doesn't work. I disagree with that. Pray ahead of time before violence happens, and hopefully we can come together and realize that these are human beings and they're not political ploys like I mentioned earlier. When it's your family, you'll understand what I'm talking about. Every life should be valued, and every life should be honored. I don't care if it's a Republican state or a Democratic state. We're all Americans, we're all humans, so let's come together and stop this.
All right, we want to thank you guys for joining us here on The Factor. And just a reminder that this happened at the end of August, but the video was just released this weekend. That's why it takes time to get around the country and on the news.